Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not done so already, what are you waiting for? Join the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. Get the inside scoop on all things BYU sports, football, basketball, and literally everything in between with us here on the podcast. And it's a great way to support the show as well. It's $5 a month to be a part of the group. But more importantly, you get a 14-day free trial to see if it's the right option for you guys. So if you're interested, click the link in the show notes below or reach out to us where on social media or via email, and we'll get you squared away with the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. All right, before we go on today's show, let's talk a little bit about what BYU athletes are doing this offseason. Now, we knew about this a couple months back, but Jake Retzlaff, obviously with his moniker of the BYU and the fact that he's got a bunch of endorsement deals with a lot of Jewish NIL opportunities out there. Well, he and his teammates, and they are traveling to Israel this month. I think actually it's happening maybe at the end of this week that they're headed over to Israel, and they're doing it as an outreach and kind of an ambassador program for athletes for Israel. Now, Jake Retzlaff, Tanner Wall, Talon Alfrey, Logan Latui, Chase Roberts, Will Farron, and Waylon Lapuaho are the BYU players who are making this trip. This is a really, really cool opportunity because, as we all know, Israel has been in the headlines a lot recently, but I think this is an outreach from BYU, a church-run school, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They have the Jerusalem Center, which was built, I think it was that in the 80s when they built it? I'm going off memory. It might have been the 90s when they finally opened it, but they have had that there, and it's been closed at points due to the political instability and the fighting that keeps going on in the Holy Land over there. But BYU is trying to, I think, make inroads with the fame of Jake Retzlaff. It's been really cool to see him embrace everything that goes with being a quarterback at BYU. As many of you know, it's got the moniker of QBU with some of the great quarterbacks of yesteryear for BYU. Well, Jake Retzlaff is part of that pantheon, and he has embraced everything that comes with it. He knows that there is outsized expectations. There is incredible pressure being the starting quarterback for the Brigham Young University football program, and he's embraced all of that alongside being a proud member of the Jewish faith. He's not a member of the LDS faith, which is a little bit different, but it's not the first time we've had guys like this. Kevin Federick, if I recall correctly, he was Catholic, if I recall. There's been other quarterbacks, Jim McMahon, et cetera, who were not members of the faith, and they have represented BYU well on the national stage. And Jake is just the latest in doing this. And the fact that he's teaming up with athletes for Israel and taking some of his fellow teammates and fellow team captains, I should insert here as well, over to Israel as a part of an ambassador program and an outreach, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. It's a great way, I think, to build bonds with the Jewish community and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the community around that. They've been connected for quite some time. There's a lot of things that happen out there in the world that LDS charities and the like have teamed up with a lot of Jewish charities out there. I think this is a really cool thing for BYU itself and BYU football to go out into the world and do some good out there. Now, not to be outdone, there are BYU basketball players who are also going overseas. That would include the trio of Mawit Mag, obviously formerly of BYU basketball. He's exhausted his eligibility, but he is going to be joining up with Keba Keita as well as Kadim Mboop. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kadim Mboop. They are headed over to be part of the Africa Elite basketball camps, which will be held next month in both Mboop's native Senegal and Keita's native Mali over there. And they're putting on these camps to kind of train up the next generation of basketball stars. There was a really cool photo. I think it was Dave McCann's article in the Deseret News that showed Richie Saunders back in 2019 reading some kind of a book. And there's Keba Keita sitting next to him. Who knew that all these years later, those two are going to be on the same team and be part of what is expected to be a top 10, if not a top 5 basketball program this coming season? The outreach that's happening here, and like I said, for guys like Mag, Keita, and Mboop, they get to go back to their native Africa and be able to kind of train up the next generation. They were all given incredible opportunities to come over to the United States of America on visas, get top-tier educations, but also play the sport that they love, and that's basketball. There are millions upon millions overseas of kids who have just discovered the sport or are trying to do what those three have done and make good on the opportunity to maybe make it a name for themselves in the basketball community, get an education at a top-tier American university, and maybe make some money along the way in the professional ranks. The nice part is as I mentioned, all of these athletes, I think there's like 9 or 10 of them in all, they're embracing the BYU adage of the world is our campus. I would hope that more BYU athletes look for opportunities to do this, to go internationally and be recognized for what they are. And that is football players or basketball players for Brigham Young University, but at the same time, go out there and do good in the world. I worked for the Larry H. Miller Group of companies for many, many years. I now work for Bonneville after Ryan Smith and the Smith Entertainment Group took over our radio station. But I vividly remember for years upon years, there was a statement inside the Miller family organization. And it still exists to this day. And it was Larry H. Miller's statement. It says, go about doing so much good in the world until there's like too much, there's not enough to do. Or I'm butchering the statement. I probably should have Googled it, but it came to mind as I was talking about this. But the thing is, we out there, and I'm speaking just to you as Cougar fans, but also to these athletes, there is a big opportunity to go out there. BYU is recognized internationally. There's just zero doubt about it. No matter what some other fan bases may want to say that BYU is only a regional brand. No, it's an international brand. It has outreach that literally reaches the world. Why? Because of its affiliation with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's got a very positive image for the most part around the world. And I think the outreach that these BYU basketball and football players are doing, it is commendable. It's awesome. And I wish them nothing but the best as they move forward here, because this is the type of stuff that I love to watch BYU athletes embrace, because it's the way that I think that they can make the most impact they can make. Yes, these are young men who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars in certain circumstances, if not millions of dollars, playing college sports. It's a whole new era of college athletics. But from my vantage point, sitting here in my studio at my house in Saratoga Springs, Utah, these athletes, they haven't lost sight of what it really means to be a college athlete. You have an outsized influence on what could be hundreds of thousands, millions of people out there by going out in the world and doing some good out there and doing some outreach and being an ambassador and showing what BYU sports is all about. So I tip my cap to these young men. They're taking time away from when they could be training, going through practices, hanging out with friends, girlfriends, whatever it may be. They could do a lot of different things out there in the world. And what they have opted to do is to travel overseas to places that are far flung, but they're embracing it. And they're going to go out there and put on a really, really good face and hopefully represent BYU at the highest levels and make a positive impression across the board. So yeah, I tip my cap to Jake Retzlaff for embracing what he can do and obviously involving his teammates. And then obviously guys like Keba Keita and Kadim Mboop, for them to go back to their native countries and put on camps and hopefully kind of open up the doorway for other athletes from their native countries to come over to the United States potentially. That's awesome stuff. So it really is cool to see these BYU athletes embracing everything about what they can do and their fame that they have as well while they're athletes at Brigham Young University. All right, so there you go. That's what I got for you guys on this Tuesday edition of the show. As always, I appreciate all y'all's support. I cannot thank you guys enough for continuing to support. Please rate and review the show. If you haven't subscribed to it, please do that as well, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcast. And make sure you share it with your family and friends and tell them it's daily BYU content available whenever you want it. It's right there for you guys, wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. And as always, thank you for being everydayers right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.